Hello, Ally Sunberg. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastically. Thank you. Yeah, I was looking back at my calendar. It's about 2 years since Ally and I were first introduced, which is crazy because I don't know where the
This
time
time
goes.
goes. It does. It goes somewhere.
It does. Can I grab it back? If you
I
figure
know.
that out, let me know.
I will.
So I was first introduced to Ally around the time I had a light bulb moment about who I most wanted to serve with my coaching practice. I want to serve LGBTQ and underrepresented people to confidently thrive in their careers by being fully themselves. And obviously, I have my own experience to draw from, but I'm too close to it in some ways. And I was really looking for some outside feedback about other people's experiences and focusing on what would most matter to my potential clients, their truest needs, and to be having conversations with people that I might coach in a way that would really resonate. So I was connected with Ally, and she's just a great resource. At the time, she was actively running her company's employee resource group for the LGBTQ plus community, and generally just super generous with sharing her thoughts and experiences. We had multiple conversations, and that was just out of the goodness of her heart. So thank you again for that. She's got a new role as the Director of Consumer Marketing at DBV Technologies, which is a global biopharmaceutical company where she's responsible for bringing a brand new product to market, which is very exciting. No pressure whatsoever, right?
No, none. Zero.
And in her work, she believes that insight and empathy are as vital as data and discipline. I've learned that she's a compassionate leader who won't ever let her role as leader interfere with her values of humanity, which is beautiful. And I can attest to that in everything I've experienced. And I also admire one of her guiding principles, which is at the end of the day, we need to believe that within the workforce, we are all striving for our best. And if there are times when we aren't, let's get curious and seek to understand why, which I really love. So having said all that, I want to officially welcome you to the podcast. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. And thank you for all the kind words. So happy to be here.
So this new role, congratulations. I know nothing except the little bits that we've had a chance to communicate about between things. So what else might you want people to know about your professional life and definitely this new role that you're taking on?
If you were to ask me when I was a teenager, would you be in marketing? No, absolutely not. I remember even asking my brother, commercials work? People buy things because they watch commercials? I don't understand that concept. But obviously, they're still around and products are still being introduced, so it works. So science is something I truly love, and that kind of what you just said, curiosity, right? If I don't understand something, I'll just try and figure it out. And the other day, my printer at home, the paper kept getting jammed, and it was really annoying me. I don't understand, why is this paper getting jammed? And I just sat there taking it apart. So I saw that there were two labels that were stuck. And the adhesion from those sticky labels is why the printer paper kept getting stuck. I sat there scraping it and scraping it, and then I ran the paper again and it worked. Oh, I fixed it. If I don't understand something and I see that there's an issue that just takes a little more due diligence. And I think that's why I love science. There's always something to figure out. So I think that has really brought me to where I am today in the sense of constant curiosity. I started in science. I am still a registered dietitian. Fitness is something that I just absolutely love because I feel like you can always learn something different. It all intersects into who I am as a person. Got into marketing, and then now with this new job, it's something that I feel is bigger than me. That's what I want to be part of. I want to be part of something that I'm not going to have all the answers to, and it's okay. We should never have all the answers. And if we do have all the answers, it's time to move on. And I think that was a key area for me to know that it was the time to move and to grow for myself. And there's risk, right? There's risk in everything that we do. But I also think that by not doing something, there's risk. There's risk no matter what. You're not going to run away from risk. Super exciting times, bringing a new product to market for the pediatric population. It's really well within who I am as a person and my value system. Excited.
You should be. Congratulations. That's really awesome. And the pediatric angle makes sense. That means a lot to you being a mom. And a couple of things really stood out to me. One is just you never thought you wanted to do marketing. I never thought I wanted to do sales. In fact, I talked about that in episode 1 of this season. I ran from it until it caught up with me, and then I realized I actually liked it. So there's that shared experience. And then I love how you said there's risk in either direction. There's the risk of staying where you are and stagnating, essentially, or the risk in taking a leap and doing something new where you're not going to have the answers. And of course, that can be scary, but I love that you love that feeling and as opposed to finding that daunting. That's really excellent. So congrats again on the role. I know you will continue to thrive.
Thank you.
And then let us know anything that you might want us to know about you personally, something that lights you up, or maybe something people don't typically know about you.
As you mentioned, I'm a mom. So a mom of twins, 7-year-old girls. So it's definitely busy, but very exciting. And then I'm married to Amy, my wife. We've been married actually 10 years on Saturday. So
I know that you're a marathon runner.
Yes. New York City is coming up. So New York City Marathon. So my 4th New York City Marathon, my 5th total marathon. I'm going for a personal record when you're going through something that is literally breaking down your body in the moment and just having to push through it. If I'm at the end of my run and I know my body is definitely tired, I tell myself, okay, I feel okay here and I just sustain this and I keep this kind of constant, I can get through the next X miles. You'll very rarely find the marathon runner who goes into a marathon thinking, oh, this is 26.1 miles. Your marathon runner is going into it thinking, okay, first 10 miles is this. Then the next 5 miles is this. You break it down into very bite-sized, absorbable moments. And I think that also speaks to just how I also ideally try and process life, is breaking it down into bite-sized pieces. I love fitness and it's not separate from my professional life. It really actually intersects my everything.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's as much a mental game as it is a physical game.
100%. Sometimes even more mental than physical. I'm not going to negate the physical because obviously there's training involved, but the mental is huge.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm a tennis player and same thing.
That's a mental, yeah.
Oh, the mental. And when you lose it mentally, forget it. It doesn't matter how much physical training you've done. Doesn't matter.
You're done. And actually, the Giants are playing the Denver Broncos the other day. The Broncos were down by a large amount with only 5 minutes left in the 4th quarter. And they came back and they won. One of my girls said, you know, Mom, when you're really mad about something, sometimes it gives you a lot of energy. She was trying to communicate when you really want something, I think you get extra energy. She got really into the game because my dad likes the Giants. So they get very happy when anyone beats the Giants because they want to egg him on.
I love that.
So, but what she just said was when you're down and out and you got something to get to, you can find that extra energy. So I thought it was cool.
From the mouths of babes, right?
Yeah.
And because that energy could take you down or do exactly what it did and springboard you to a next level.
Correct. It's all about how you utilize it. Yep. Yeah. How you're going to utilize that energy. You're going to let it take you down. You're going to utilize it to better yourself.
That's so insightful on your daughter's behalf.
Yeah, it's cool.
What are your pronouns that you use?
I go by she, her.
So you have a lot of intersectionality going on for yourself. How would you describe who you are in your navigating your career as an outsider story?
It's definitely been a journey. So personally, I guess consider myself straight until, I don't know, 20 years old, which is a long time. I'm about to be 38 this coming weekend. So you say to yourself, okay, she considered herself straight for 20 years. That's a pretty good chunk of her life. I kind of always questioned it. We talk about intersectionality. There were a few things I just didn't feel right. I didn't feel right in a dress. I still don't feel right in a dress. I put it on maybe for a wedding, but I just want to take it off. It just feels like icky. It's icky. So I just always knew intuitively that there was something. And then I guess as I matured and I did go to NYU. So I'm sure that definitely helped in the essence of just being around things that I might not have grown up with. And I think that's the biggest thing is just, I didn't know, not in the sense of it was banned in my household. It was more of, I just wasn't privy to it. I didn't have an uncle who was gay. I didn't have friends. It just wasn't there. Over time, it's transpired, right? I mean, thankfully, I met my wife, Amy. If I had to label myself, I guess technically I would be bisexual. I think that within itself has its own stigma.
How do you perceive that stigma?
I just feel like I'm not allowed to be bisexual. I feel like I'm pressured to choose. The word lesbian does not feel right coming out of my mouth. Bisexual feels more comfortable to me when it comes out of my mouth because I don't know what would happen if I weren't with Amy, right? I can't say, 100%. I would probably be with a woman, but I do think there's still something there. And I think it just speaks to, it can be messy. And I think it goes back to my career. My career has been a little messy. I went to school specifically to be a registered dietitian. That was the program. Your entire 4 years of undergraduate were to get you to all of your credentials to then go and do your externship to be a registered dietitian. And then it became messy. I got there and it was like, I don't know if I want this as my career. And I think it has been very parallel to my identity in terms of my personal life. They're both a little messy. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay to be a little messy. Everything does not have to be so formatted.
Yeah, but yet you feel some pressure from
But
the
the pressure, oh
outside.
yeah, the pressure is the pressure is there 100%. That is probably what I'm constantly pushing away every single day, the social construct. So internally, if I were to be living on this island by myself, right, I'd be like, oh, messy, this is just wonderful. But messy is not how we live. And I think that within itself can be difficult, for sure.
Yeah, people have this need, wherever it comes from, to be able to define things
Yeah.
very specifically. I need to put this in some sort of a box so that I can wrap my head around it, and that gets imposed on you.
Exactly. And again, I worked very hard. It's hard not to take it personally, but I say to myself, you know what? I do that too as a human. Human brains are driven to compartmentalize things. Oh, I see a computer and the computer is supposed to be square. Oh my God, the computer's circle? It takes a moment. So I think
Yeah.
it's just unlearning is so much harder than learning something. But again, it still impacts me. I understand it from a rational perspective, but from an emotive perspective, it, of course, it still has impact.
Yeah, and thinking about our conversation today, so being bisexual puts you in this in-between
Messy.
state, right? Messy. Talk a little bit about the fact that you present as feminine, yet you're not comfortable in a dress per se. How does that unfold for you?
Yeah, I think that's messy within itself. I kind of walk that fine line again. I don't know if I'm femme per se. I'm definitely not putting makeup on and lipstick, but I definitely feel like I go more towards that way. Even in work, especially starting a new job, I'm already thinking, oh, what do I need to wear? I've been comfortable figuring out what I wear here, what works for me, but I just want to make sure that when I enter this new job, that's going to be okay. I think it goes all the way down to what to wear, what I feel comfortable in, making sure that I am business appropriate, but also being cognizant of not taking anything away from my own authenticity. So it's this kind of mix of emotions. You want to show presentable and put together, but again, you don't want to take anything away from yourself just to please someone else. And I think that's a constant struggle. So if I put on a dress, I wouldn't sit in the corner and cry. It's not that extensive, but it's not who I am. It definitely has changed dramatically from where it was 20 or 30 years ago, but there definitely still is this realm of, oh, women in business or in the higher positions still need to be portrayed as this femme figure. And when you are getting into different roles and higher roles and you don't feel comfortable in that femme figure, you're trying to figure it out, like what fits for you.
Yeah, I lived that too. I became a big fan of the pantsuit.
Yeah. And
And
then
the
that has its own stigma. So it's like,
Totally, yeah. That or the slacks and the blazer, and I think to your point, it was professional.
right,
It felt comfortable, and it does have its own stigma. I
right, of
become the
course.
pantsuit lady, and when for people who do know me, they probably are like, "Okay, that makes sense," and for people who don't know me, they might be like, "What's with the pantsuit again?"
How many colors does the pantsuit come in?
But
Totally, yeah.
yeah, but it's something to navigate, and
It is.
I've lived that as well.
Yeah, it doesn't sound big and it's, whatever, it's clothes, what but something about it, there are times where I just wish it was I just love dresses and I put on the dress and I went to work and I had 50 different dresses. It definitely does add another layer of what am I gonna do today?
Something else that you gotta think about and some
Yeah.
energy toward that
Yeah.
and then your wife, Amy, you have a large age gap, I think roughly 20 years, which can be messy. Tell me about that.
So Amy and I are about 20 years apart. I've always been more mature for my kind of quote unquote age. I've just have been able to see that large vision of life, what really matters. I kind of always had that vision. Think about it. I'm about to be 38, but at the age of 22, I was getting married to someone that was getting divorced and had kids of her own.
Yeah.
When I think about that now, my girls are 7, and I'm like, oh, wow, if they had to take that on at 22. Oof, that's a lot. And then being in the workforce at the same time and not really feeling comfortable about talking about it, but being 22 and then pretty much taking on a role as a step parent
Yeah.
was a lot. We look back, we talk about it, we're like, wow, we got through that and everything is pretty much good. And ended up having our own family and we have our 2 girls. I mean, when I would go into work and something would happen and there's a lot of things at home that were going on. So I think that just really forced me to mature even faster. You think about your lives of most 20-year-olds, I would say 98% of them, maybe not, maybe even 99, right, are probably were not in the position that I was.
Yeah.
Taught me a lot.
I was thinking about the fact that you're on the one hand, one foot in
Yeah.
being a 20-year-old, and then you've got
Right.
this other foot that is full on adult, not just, okay, I got married, but I'm a parent essentially. And it's a real split because you're still in your 20s and you just now took on a same-sex relationship. So
right. On top of it. So that it was a lot to unpack. Yeah.
Yeah. My experience with that was just this strong sense of knowing that I'd met the right person, and that took over everything. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
So then you just back into the rest of it.
Yeah. Going through it, our connection just conquered it all.
Yeah, which is really beautiful. And it doesn't mean, like you said, looking back, you're like, wow, that was a lot. It's still a lot, right? It's still a lot. And then with the age difference, you told me that sometimes you get into these situations where people will say, so is that your mom?
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that. So there's our new neighbors. Ironically, they have an age gap within their own marriage. They actually have 2 young children as well who are 7 years old. So they're in my girls' class, etc. They were outside. The husband of my new neighbor, his mom was visiting, and his mom must be in her mid to late 80s. So I walk out of the house, and a minute or 2 later, Amy walks out of the house, and this woman who's in her mid 80s, she goes, "Oh, is this your mom?" And I'm like, "No, like, it's my wife." But I bring it up because this new couple next to us has their own age gap. Her son is married to someone who's younger, but it's a man who's married to a younger woman. When you see an older woman with a younger woman, our instinct as just humans is to link mother and daughter. But when you see an older man with a younger woman, you don't always go father-daughter.
Yep.
So it's another thing that we have to constantly be like, oh, here I go again. And there's moments where we let it go because it's just honestly not worth it. Yeah, it's not worth my energy. And it's a passing by. But in this circumstance, it was the grandma of our neighbor. I wanted to kill it right then and there. So so that can be emotionally taxing sometimes. It definitely does add another layer to my onion for sure.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of a whack-a-mole. I don't think they thought anything about what I'm wearing. Okay, I'm good there.
Yeah.
Okay, we got past the gay thing. Oh, is the age going to come up? And it's a little bit whack-a-mole-ish.
Yeah. And it can be exhausting,
Yeah.
especially if you're meeting new people or if we're out in the neighborhood or somewhere with someone that knows us all the time, and then they meet someone that they know and they're introducing us, and then it becomes, oh, here we go again. Or someone at a restaurant just wants to like nicely start a conversation, and then are they going to ask? Are they going to ask? Are they going to ask? So it's
you're bracing yourself.
Yeah.
I also love that you said that in some cases you're just going to let it go. I think that for me also, you're allowed to decide when it's important to you to do the full reveal of whatever it might be or not. I don't think that there's this obligation every time in every circumstance to do that. It can be authentic to say, you know what, in this case, it's not important. It's really just not that important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it shouldn't have to be this way, but if we're traveling and we don't necessarily feel that that particular country or that state is so open-minded, on the flip side, could actually be a protection mode. Not saying that's how we should be living, but that's the reality. Speak up when you can, and then when you feel like it's not worth it, you don't. But again, it adds another layer of mental load.
Yeah, absolutely. As this starts to bring you all into your career, and you mentioned it early on in your relationship with your wife that you weren't comfortable yet to talk about it. I remember the conversation that you were having with a colleague where she was talking about her boyfriend, and then you started to share your story.
Yeah, so I think this was our first few days into the organization and meeting new people. I was 27, 28 at the time. I don't remember how exactly unfolded, but then I didn't open up. I definitely didn't communicate that I did not have a husband and I had a wife. But then I went home that day and I was like, oh, that didn't sit well. I know I'm going to be seeing this person a lot. I can't just do this. I remember messaging the individual and it went totally fine. It was definitely more of a me thing for sure. But that also is my igniter to get really more involved in the ERG. Not to say this is the right thing for everybody, but I didn't want to do those one-offs. So for me personally, it was, oh, let me just be the poster person for the gay community at my company.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You felt in this situation with this colleague, you sat with it over a period of time. You felt uncomfortable with where it was sitting, and then you had to initiate a separate conversation in order to set the record straight.
Right.
So it lived rent-free and not a good way in your brain for a period of time. And, and you had this mini coming out thing that you had to do. Yeah. And then I love that the discomfort of that propelled you in the completely opposite direction, which is I'm going to now
go all in. That's it. I'm going
all in and lead the LGBTQ plus employee resource group at my company.
Pretty much.
I get that. I also give you a lot of credit because I think you talked about solving puzzles and piecing things together. And I almost can picture in your brain you going, okay, I'm going to have to do this how many more times and all the maneuvers. I'm just going to rip off the Band-Aid and get way ahead of it, which I love.
Yeah.
And I personally didn't do that. I would have been intimidated. Was that scary for you at all? Or you were just, I'm going to take this bull by the horns and you were felt empowered?
I felt empowered by it. I'm also a very, for people who know me or listening, very action-oriented person. So I am taking action right now. It was a safe place to do it. The ERG existed already, so it's not like I created it. I led it within the US area. I just felt that it was a safe space in the essence of, okay, there's other individuals that do this. I know it's something the organization feels strongly about. I saw it as action-oriented. It took some of the emotion out of it. I think that at that time is what I needed. At the time, I just needed to be like, this is what I stand for. I'm leading the Pride ARG. Oh, and I'm also part of, because you can lead it and be an ally. It's not like you have to lead it and be part of the community. But it was a way for me to be here, my name, and then next to my name is LGBT Pride Lead for ERG. Oh, a person seeing this email or seeing this, maybe Ally's part of, like, just open the door for me versus me having to always open the door.
Totally. And owning the narrative versus feeling like it was going to be.
It gave me control. Yes.
It's interesting
100%.
that you use the word control because there's definite similarities that I feel between us. And I've been wondering to some degree, using the employee resource group as an example, is there a bit of controlling the controllables that you feel?
Yeah.
Because so much feels like it's out of control.
So much. Yeah.
Yes.
So much. And it is. It is.
Yeah.
There's so much out of our control. And I think for me, it was, all right, this is one thing that I feel that I could own and I could deliver on and I could create it the way I want to create it and then speak to it. And then the underlayer of it would be, oh, Ally's the ERG lead and she's gay versus the flip side of first labeling me as the gay part.
Yeah. And how was the experience as the lead for the Pride
Yeah,
ERG?
it was great. It definitely gave me a lot of different experiences at the organization that I wouldn't have gotten just doing my day job. I met people along the way that definitely impacted me. And I think it just really spoke to who I was as a value-oriented person. It wasn't about particularly the LGBT community. It is, but it's not. It's also the embracing of and learning of other individuals and what they bring. There were also people at the organization that ended up talking to me in terms of their kids starting to identify as bisexual or actually transitioning or just having a difficult time even. They didn't know what they were identifying as. There were at least a handful of employees that definitely connected with me and opened up to me about what they were experiencing at home. They weren't particularly part of the community themselves, but their children were, or they were going through something.
Yeah, you were able to create a space where there was this underlying trust. Nothing matters more to people than their kids. And now they're coming to you as a resource. And back to this idea of messiness, you're able to, out of this messiness, create this space where now you can be of service to other people and start to make some sense and order and meaning out of the otherwise gray stuff that you were experiencing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was a way to get some control out of it. Coming back to that, it definitely had its purpose and had its time. Now I definitely feel more confident in saying my wife. I still feel it out. I don't know about you, but I'm always in tune when I'm in a new situation. I can't even explain it. Like, you just feel it out. And when it comes and people start talking about their families, you just feel that vibe. And if the vibe feels right, you'll say it. But if not, you're not saying it.
I describe it as this constant scanning of what's going on, consciously, unconsciously. And at some point, there's a gut intuition that kicks in that says yes or no. But it's this extra kind of program running behind the scenes constantly. And it gets, as you said, easier over time. I think the scanning software gets better and your comfort level gets...
And I think as you just have more life experience, you're just like, whatever.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have any stories that were shared with you in your ERG days? A situation with an employee that really stood out?
I'm not the lead anymore, but I was for 8 years. I always found that it was unfortunately more within our manufacturing areas of the business. And I think that's very true for a variety of organizations just because of where these manufacturing sites are typically placed in the country. You think large manufacturing buildings, okay, I need a lot of space. Therefore, when I have a lot of space, I need to go to places that are more rural. That's just the nature of it. It doesn't mean that gay people don't exist in manufacturing sites, right? They exist, they're there. I always felt very strongly about ensuring that whatever we did, we were always bringing in our manufacturing sites into the conversation. And I actually, over time, built a lot of trust within those sites. And thankfully, out of that trust, one person ended up wanting to lead the ERG. And I think just empowering that individual, you have a voice. Seeing people who were either going through transition or individuals that just didn't feel that their identity mattered at a site and they just wanted to get the work done. But it's hard to separate the two. It's super hard to be one person at home and come to work and be a different person. And one of the biggest things that I recall is allowing them to see the voice within themselves, allowing them to say, my voice matters and I can make a difference. And like I always said, if you're talking to a people of 100 and one person out of that 100 takes something away, you did a good job. You're not going to change everyone. You're not going to empower everyone. So for this one in particular person, they are currently their site lead. They led the Gay Pride Parade in their community. They brought the company in. They brought samples of our products in. They felt empowered. I would say if anyone's just listening, watch out for your sites that aren't your quote unquote corporate sites and think about the other parts of your organization where most likely you still have people who are part of the community, but they just might not feel as safe.
Oh, that's such a great story. So this person went from feeling like I need to shut off who I am when I walk through the office door to now I'm
leading this ERG.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I love your point about if you impact one person. I've done a number of episodes with a friend and former colleague, Mary Tess Rooney, and she talked about her podcast. She was a big part of my inspiration. And she said the same thing. She said, if I do a podcast that reaches one person and has a positive impact, that was a successful podcast. And I've brought that into my thinking with this as well. Yeah, I agree with you. That's really beautiful. So now you're entering this new job.
Yeah.
And it's a clean slate. And so on the one hand, it's, here we go again with all the coming out. And on the other hand, it's this opportunity to kind of write the playbook about at this point in your life, how you want to enter this new organization in a way that feels authentic, it feels true, that also won't drain you.
Yeah.
Do you have thoughts about that yet?
Yeah, I definitely don't want to be the poster child anymore. I'm done with that. It served what I needed at the time. And it doesn't mean that I would never advocate. I think being the person and being an advocate are very different. I will always advocate and help support anyone. But for me, I think I need to come out right from the beginning. But I say that as though it's, oh yeah, it's not going to be an issue. It's still something on my mind. I like to tell myself I'm working in New Jersey. You would think that people are pretty accepting. I'm not going to be the first gay person that they're going to meet, or bisexual, or whatever you want to call me, whatever it is, as our previous conversation. But I don't want it to be who I am. What I want to bring to the table is my work and my work ethic. And to me, that's why I'm doing a job. That's why I have a job. I'm not doing the job because I'm married to a woman. And I think that's a part of my life. It's just like marathons are a part of my life. And that goes back to taking things in bits and pieces. We all are bits and pieces of everything. And I think that's the key thing for me is remembering, yeah, that's a big part of who I am, but it doesn't make me do work differently than someone else. I need to remember what I was hired for is what I'm going to bring to the table, not how I label myself or how someone labels me.
I spent over a decade actively hiding my relationship with my wife at one company. And then I went to the new company, similar to you, what you're saying now. I'm done. This is it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I didn't want to walk through the door and be like, hi, I'm Shanti, I'm gay,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And so the way I did it was I let people get to know me for a bit, maybe about 6 months in.
Yeah.
I had these 2 exceedingly awkward coming out conversations that I initiated. Very funny in retrospect. How are you picturing that you'll navigate? So I don't recommend that version.
So if things get talked about of, what are you doing this weekend? I think that's a perfect opportunity to say, my wife and I are taking the kids. I'm going to try and normalize it as much as possible.
As
I think
organic.
that, yeah. And honestly, if they don't catch on the first time, then that's on you. That's on you. I'm hoping that when I put in the paperwork for my benefits and it says Amy instead of Harold, it's going to speak for itself for HR. I'm hoping some paperwork does the
Some
work for
context
me.
clues kick in for people. Yeah.
I'm hoping. But in all seriousness, I'm just going to try and make it as organic as possible and also remind myself if I do run into a conversation, I do think I need to correct it in the moment in time because I don't want it to catch up to me. And I feel like at this moment I am more mature and more confident and I have children to speak to. One of the biggest things in my mind is, especially when you're going back to the conversation about when Amy and I are out, or even if the girls are around us and people say something about our relationship, my biggest thing and what always keeps me grounded is them. They cannot go through life thinking that I have any shame about what I am doing in my life. Anything where you're going outside the boundary to some extent, there is naturally going to be and shame might be the wrong word, but there's something there. So the last thing I ever want for them is to see that I have any questioning about what I've decided to do in my life. Showing them the love and showing them that's the most important thing. And I want them to feel that and they do. If someone ever questions, I've heard stories from school where if it's Father's Day and they're making things and one of the kids will be like, why are you making it for your uncle? And they're like, I don't have a dad. They actually empower me. So when you ask that question of going into a new job and how you're going to handle it, honestly, they're in the forefront of my minds. What would Joey and Logan want me to do?
That's beautiful. And that's going to take care of it, I guarantee you. Just envisioning them being there with you in the room in that moment.
Mommy, why would you tell them that you had a husband? That's so weird.
What's up with you? I'm sure that's going to be a much more fluid experience than it was when you were going through it in your early 20s.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I have a new segment that I've introduced to the podcast called the Thrive Takeaway. If listeners only remember one thing from our conversation today, one thought, one piece of advice, what would you want them to carry with them so that they can thrive in their own careers?
One takeaway for sure, it's not linear. Life is not linear. Your career is not linear. Let it be dynamic. It's going to change. It's going to evolve and it's going to be messy. And I think the more you embrace that, you'll actually find that more people are experiencing similarities to you than you think. The more we can just be messy together, that's to me the beautiful thing. And I just picked up a book that we were in Portugal for our 10-year anniversary. One of the books was How to Stay Calm. I'm always looking at how to stay calm, right? Why not? But one of the things that I remember vividly about the book is to do the idiot dance. Just do the idiot dance and just dance like an idiot. And I think honestly, that's my takeaway is be messy. We're all messy. And I think the more that we can just acknowledge that we're all messy, we'll all do better together.
I love do the idiot dance. And I think there's a vulnerability to that, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you're being real because you're only doing the idiot dance because you're feeling some amount of overwhelm. And then you're letting your guard down and you're being vulnerable in front of other people and you're doing it in a lighthearted way. And it creates this space, like you said, where now other people are more comfortable to let their guard down.
Yeah.
Life is messy and each of us is messy in our own way. And that's the beauty of it rather than the let's try to force everything into these boxes.
Couldn't agree more.
I love that Thrive takeaway. Thank you. And listeners, if it got you thinking, I invite you to explore your own path to thriving in your career and beyond. My free Thriving Assessment offers a gentle but powerful way to get clarity on where you're excelling and where you can increase joy, fulfillment, and impact. It takes just minutes and gives you instant personalized results. You can find it at shantijoygold.com in the upper right-hand corner. So we've got one more segment that's a constant. And it's my podcast, so there will be music. If you could put a song in a time capsule and preserve it at all costs for future generations, what would it be and why?
Born This Way, right? So Lady Gaga, gotta love Lady Gaga. Just embrace who you are, born this way. Embrace what you have and bring to the world. Don't try and make yourself into a pretzel. Do all these pretzel forms or gymnastics to make yourself something for somebody else. Be who you are and carry that with you because that's how you'll thrive.
And the song's done with so much power behind it and it's celebratory too.
Yeah, it's happy. And to be happy about it. It's not doom and gloom. There's going to be moments, but the more you find the fun in it and be like, you know what? I've got this. Embrace it.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Tell us as we're winding down where people can find out more about you and the work that you're doing in the world.
I do post a decent amount on LinkedIn. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I am more than happy. I will respond to you. And then from there, obviously, can give you more personalized information. LinkedIn's probably the best. Ally Sunberg is my page. And you'll see that I post a lot about how my fitness journey intersects with my professional life. I actually just recently posted about how fitness, there's no time. You're vulnerable from the get-go. There is no time to think about it. You're sweating, you're breathing hard. All aspects of what you're trying to cover up is gone. Get some fitness buddies and learn something about one another.
Yeah, fitness, there's a rawness to it. It strips away all of the layers, and it just is an equalizer in a really beautiful way.
It is. Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, it's always great to talk to you, and just full circling in my mind back to when we first met and really how generous you were. We didn't know each other, and I can't even remember the number of conversations that we had where you just wanted to share whatever you could share to try to help me on my journey. And I feel that same presence in you today and in our conversation. And it's just so great to have this extra time to spend and to continue to get to know you, and could not be more thrilled for you about this next chapter, which I just know you're going to kill it.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. Yeah. Appreciate all that you're doing for the community as well. Super important to have these stories be told. I'm sure others are experiencing similarities for sure.
Yeah. Thank you again. All right, everyone. That brings this episode of Stories We Haven't Shared to a close. I believe stories are our humanity waiting to be shared, and listening makes it possible. Thanks so much for being here today by our virtual campfire. Until next time, and thanks again so much to Ally Sunberg. Take care.
Bye.